It says connecting, Jordan.
Wow.
It worked.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good with this stuff. It wasn't anything that was wrong on my end. I don't know what was happening. There was no button.
I don't know. Facebook is having one of those moments, I guess.
Can you hear me okay?
It's a little soft. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know.
Is the sound all right? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. I can hear you. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome, man. You're looking good.
You know what? The past 2 weeks have been technology challenges, one after the next.
Really?
Yeah, but it's all good. We're here. Nice to see you.
It's funny because I don't know if you know Thomas Bauman. He's been with Ray Higdon 8 years, and yeah, we got it fixed.
Oh, you're good. Okay, cool.
So he's over here working with me on an assignment, and anyway, so you can go back to the gym now.
Okay.
You're saved, man.
Okay.
Can you believe it, man? I figured it out. A guy as dumb as me.
No. Jeff, thanks for your flexibility on the time for this thing.
Oh, hey, thanks for taking time. Because, I mean, you know, you're busy. You're really busy. But let me, I want to introduce you. And, I didn't give any shout outs, but I'm going to go ahead and go into it because I was trying to fix this thing, Betty. Everyone. So, Jordan Adler, and I'm so, it's so awesome to have Jordan, here. I'm going to talk about his bio for a minute and then make some comments. But at 34 years of age, he was living in an enclosed garage. So probably not many of you can relate to that. Hopefully not many of you have to relate to that. But his rent was $200 and he shared it with 2 people. So he had $36,000 in credit card debt, and he was only making $14,000 in his job. Over the past 27 years, he's become one of the top network marketing professionals in the world. He's made in excess of over 20 million in his business, in his send out cards business. See, I've got one of these.
All right.
Michael sent me that.
Nice.
Yeah. You know, he's really sharp about that because he included brownies. That was the hook. Those brownies, there's not a better brownie.
Good work, Michael. Good work, Michael.
I ate those. I said, oh my gosh, I'll be on auto ship for this. But anyway, back to this. And so Jordan, you know, he has over 500,000 customers. He's the #1 referral partner in his company. Of course, he wrote the best-selling book, Beach Money, right here. Beach Money.
I'm gonna put up a new. There's the new the new book, the new cover.
Okay.
You got an old one.
I mean, I like to go to antique stores. And this book, by the way, 100% of the profits, which really tells you what kind of guy Jordan Adler is, goes to charity, the Kiva organization. So his book's been out there 9 years and it sells around 5,000 copies a month. And he just launched his new book, Better Than Beach Money, March 7th. It's backwards. Actually, this book is not backwards. It's just Facebook is. It was launched March 7th, which was really cool because I was able to get a autographed copy of this. So here's the thing. Jordan spends most of his time between his 2 mountain homes, a condo on the Vegas Strip, and then, of course, the beach. Why not? 2 years ago, he decided to get his helicopter license, pilot's license, so everybody watch out. He's scheduled to become, now this is fascinating, because when I first met Jordan, I came to know of this. And he's going to become the first network marketer to travel in space as part of Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic Civilian Space Program. Unbelievable. So he will be the first network marketer to go in space, the first astronaut.
That's the goal.
Man, the goal. Unbelievable. Now, true story. Back in April, I was flying into Salt Lake City, and I was reading Beach Money. And you know, it's the kind of book that's very hard to put down. Once I started with, and if you know me, that a lot of books I put down. I'll read them for a while, and I'll say, time to take a break. With Jordan's book, I didn't want to break. I mean, because it's incredible, his story, the companies he went through, the disappointments, the amount of money, the amount of investment into books and seminars to, you know, and then have nothing in return other than ridicule from people. And he endured that massively for years. And so I was reading the book, and when I landed in Salt Lake City, I said, "Wow, man, that's awesome. This is totally awesome." So I got to the hotel, and I went to the bar for a glass of wine, and I'm looking at my phone, and I looked at Jordan's post on in my Facebook, and he said he's at the Salt Palace. I said, "Salt Palace? That's right across the street from me, because I'm staying at the Marriott." And so I said, "Wow, let me see. I just finished reading his book and got to the hotel. I'm here in the bar, and then here's his post. He's across the street." I sent him a message. I said, "Hey, man, I'm here," you know, and so it was so cool. So the next day he sent me a message. "Hey, let's see one." So I went across to his convention at Send Out Cards, and I went to the back room, and I was just watching the event. Awesome event. And so that's the photo I posted on my Facebook page was that
Cool.
photo of us together. And I said, "Hey, would you know, why don't we do a Facebook Live together? Because I like to talk about you, and I like to talk about your new book. And so I really appreciate you doing this, really."
Thank you, Jeff. And you know, that was really nice of you to come over as well. It was really good to connect.
I loved it.
We've really only had a couple of conversations. Once in Dallas at the ANP last year, and then again in Salt Lake City. So I'm looking forward to continuing our friendship and doing some things together.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, and you know, me and you have a lot in common as far as the company. You know, you've been with them how many years?
It's been this company 14 years. Now I was with another company prior to this. My phone is going crazy right now.
It's okay.
I was with another company prior to this for 14 years as well, and that was Excel. I don't know if I'm sure you remember.
Oh, I
Excel
remember Excel. Sure.
So yeah, Excel went away in 2004, and I had been there for 14 years and had a very nice residual income, a very large residual income there. That was my first company that I ever made money. And I was planning on being there forever, but then they went away. And so I started with the new company 14 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So I'm 20 years with my company. And then prior to that, I was with the company 6 years.
Yeah.
And
so our
other than
stories
that, yeah. And then before that, it was
Jeff,
10.
You know, you mentioned the struggles and all that. I don't know of a single, well, there's rare cases of people that have become successful in network marketing. A lot of times they're one-hit wonders, but there are rare cases of people that just get involved and skyrocket to the top. But most of us have the same story, the story of years of study and struggle and listening to audios and reading books and going to events and making no money and spending money and, learning the lessons. It's just part of the journey in getting there. In fact, I'm sure you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, years ago. Do you remember that book?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, he talked about the 10,000 hours in 10 years. That most people that are overnight successes, they're overnight successes when you hear about them. But prior to that, it was many years of just learning the learning the ins and outs. And it's kind of like, I have the difference between deserving something and wanting something. Like, you can want it. For many years, I wanted to be successful in network marketing. I wanted the lifestyle that would come with the residual income, but I didn't deserve it. And when I say that, I hadn't done the preparation yet. And so,
I love that.
Like, for example, getting my helicopter license, I wanted to fly helicopters, but I didn't deserve to have my license until I'd done the training and gone through the check rides and, actually proven that I could fly safely. I didn't deserve it until I had prepared. And so I think what happened was my first many years in the business, learning and going to events and all that, those struggles are struggles that most people have to go through in getting to where they want to go.
Awesome. And so, so one thing, real quick, your book, Beach Money, 100% of the profits go to can you comment on the Kiva organization, what that's about?
Absolutely. It's so cool. In fact, I think that I don't have children, but if I had children, one of the first things that I would do is I'd send them to Kiva and have them look at that and say, you know, let's participate in this. Because what it is, it's an organization. It's been around for many years. They've got about 1 million contributors all around the world. And anyone that wants to can go there and they can view profiles of entrepreneurs in developing countries. And it's very different than entrepreneurs in the United States. These are people that don't have shoes that want to start a farm stand, or somebody that wants to buy a cow so they can provide milk to the local residents in the area, those kinds of things. So they're entrepreneurs that want to contribute to their community, but they don't have the money to start the business, and they need $50 or they need $100 or they need $500. So you go on the website, kiva.org, KIVA.org, and you can loan as little as $25. And you can actually watch the progress of that entrepreneur in that country as they develop their business.
Really?
And they're all over the world. So we've helped thousands of entrepreneurs to the tune of, I don't know, close to, I don't know, $600,000, something like that.
Wow.
Help thousands of entrepreneurs start businesses all over the world. And they pay the money back, and then we reloan it back out. So the money continues to recycle. They have about a 97% payback. So these business owners pay back the money, and then we reloan it back out. And it's just a phenomenal organization.
Wow, I've never heard of it.
Really?
No.
Yeah, check out the website later on. Check it out, kiva.org. It's
Everyone
cool.
check it
and
out.
Beach Money was, I don't know where we are ranked right now, but we were for 2 years, we were #1 out of the million contributors. Beach Money was #1 in terms of contribution to Kiva for a couple of years. Yeah.
Man, that is powerful. I'm so proud of you, man. That's awesome.
So it just made sense. It's like, you know, we're all about, you know, being entrepreneurs and helping people start businesses. And I thought, if I could take the money that I make from the book and help people in a perpetual way, help people start businesses all over the world from the book that's all about being an entrepreneur, I thought that would be such a cool thing. And so that's what we did. Yeah.
It is awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing it. So here's the thing. You went through a lot of companies that didn't work out until you found one that did. But is finding the one that will work out, does it always work out for everybody?
Yeah, Jeff, the truth is, it wasn't about me finding the right company. It had little to do with that. It had everything to do with me being ready to succeed at whatever it is I got involved in. You know, the only security we really have is the security in our network, in our relationships. So, you know, companies come and go. Some companies are around for 20, 30, 40 years, and some companies are around for a year or two and then they're gone. But when you develop a strong relationships with people and you prepare in that way, building your network and treating people right and looking for ways to meet new people and looking at your relationships as lifelong, those kinds of things. The people that are successful in network marketing, that's what they do. And so I was involved in 11 network marketing companies over a course of 10 years. And I was, you know, listening to audios and reading books and going to events, sitting in the front row and taking lots of notes, but I wasn't ready personally. And so even if I was with a great company, I would talk to 2 or 3, this is what I did. I would talk to 2 or 3 people, they would be negative and I would quit. And I did that for 11 years, 10 companies, or no, 10 years, 11 companies. And,
Wow.
And then I realized that model of quitting when things get tough doesn't work.
Right.
Because everybody goes through that. And the difference between people that make it and the ones that don't, you gotta stay with it to learn the lessons. Otherwise, you never learn the lessons. And that's what I did for over 10 years. I never learned what I needed to learn. I never went through the fire to get to the other side because I would quit. And that's why at the age of 34 years old, after being involved in, at that point, I don't know, 8 or 9 companies.
Right.
I was living in an enclosed garage in Tempe, Arizona. My rent was $200 a month. Now, just to be clear, that my 2 roommates did not live in the garage with me.
Okay.
Okay. They were in the house. I was in the garage. So I had my own garage.
Wow.
And
they were your friends and they put you in the garage?
Well, I just answered an ad at 34 years old. You know, my job's paying me $14 grand a year, and I'd already been in a whole bunch of different network marketing companies. And in fact, when I had a friend help me move out of the the garage and with a pickup truck. And I was really just starting to make money in Excel, my 12th company. It was starting to go. I was starting to sponsor people for the first time. Never sponsored anyone in my first 11 companies, not one person. So my first person I signed up was in my 12th company. And I started getting things going, and the money was starting to come in, and I had some nice residual checks starting to come in. And I remember one of my best friend's fathers saying to him, you know, I do not see evidence of success here. You know, it was like I owned one suit. My nightstand was a cinder block with a piece of plywood on it. And I had a bed that was pretty much just a platform with and it was just a garage, like a little garage. But things changed. When I joined my 12th company, I was ready. I figured out how to give a short 30-minute presentation. I figured out how to set up appointments. I figured out how to stay in touch with people, follow up, treat people great when they say no, meet new people. And over the next 12 years, I signed up 129 people personally, which is less than one a month, but there's 144 months in 13 years. And I think I signed up in those 13 years, I signed up 129 people. But from those 129, 5 of them went on to build groups of tens of thousands.
Wow.
5 of the 129. The other 124 people that I personally signed up, they either quit or just became customers. But you know, you collect the stories along the way, the stories of the people that stand you up, and the people that, you know, you've experienced all that, the people that say they're going to do it and then they don't do it, or the ones that say they're going to do it and they're real excited and they sign up and then, you know, they disappear a month later.
Yeah.
And you collect those stories, and those stories are what inspire other people. When you tell those stories, it inspires them because it gives them hope.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Yeah, myself, I recruited 72, and out of 72, 3 took it seriously, and I have 500,000 distributors under those 3.
That's how it is.
And the others,
so,
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
You know what's crazy? What's crazy about that, Jeff, is we've never had this conversation before, what you just shared with me. And I've brought 30 people in a room full of thousands of people, when I know there's a whole bunch of like 5 and 6 figure monthly earners in the crowd. I'll bring the 5 and 6 figure monthly earners up to the stage, and I'll line them all up. And some of them I've never even talked to about this before, just like this conversation. And I'll ask them, how long have you been with your company? How many people have you personally signed up in the business? And 90% of your income comes from how many of those people? And without exception, the top earners have signed up somewhere between 50 and 150 people personally. And they have 2 to 4 people are responsible for almost all their income.
That's right.
And so when somebody comes to me and they say, you know, they say to me, I've sponsored 16 people and nobody's doing anything, and I feel like I'm not very good at this. I'm not good at motivating my people. What am I doing wrong? There's nothing wrong. It's just that they haven't sponsored enough people yet.
That's right.
You know, sponsored 2 a month for 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to have 1 or 2 people that are going to be serious about your business, most likely. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But and I always said, you know, and the ones you sponsor in the beginning, you're basically practicing on.
Yeah.
It's like my brother, when I showed it to him, he said, "Don't show me that." I said, no, you got it all wrong, brother. I'm just practicing on you. Then I'm going to go get me some good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Practice.
You know, it's funny because that philosophy I said when I joined my 12th company, this was the first company that I actually declared to myself, not to anyone else, that I'm not going to quit no matter what. No matter what, I'm going to keep stay in action, and no matter how difficult it gets. And I had 2 things that happened in my 12th year in network marketing, which was the company that I made money in. There were 2 things that happened that in the past would have knocked me out of the business. And it would have knocked, for every 1,000 people that had experienced what I experienced in my first year in that company, like 999 of them would have quit. But I didn't. And that company, I went on to make $8 million with that company.
So I want to hone in on that, because there was a turning point in you. Totally. There was something that you said you went through, what, 10, 11 companies, and you
11
quit.
companies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you quit. And But what made you turn around and stop quitting? What was it that influenced you to do that?
Yeah, there's usually defining moments. I think what I've learned from speaking to many of my friends that are top earners in many different companies is it's usually like a defining moment. I had a couple of defining moments, and one of them was the one that I was making reference to, and that was I had my first growing group like in my life, and I had 40 distributors in Massachusetts that popped up as a result of somebody that I signed up in Phoenix.
Okay.
So this group in Massachusetts, now I didn't have any money. I was making at that time $14,000 a year at my job. But I worked for an airline, so I had pass benefits, so I could fly for free. So I flew to Massachusetts, and it turned out to be one of the worst snowstorms in their history. So I landed, I got every credit card I have is maxed out. I have one credit card that has enough for me to rent a car. I rent a car, and I'm driving in a blizzard, one of the worst blizzards I've ever been in, to get to this home to do this meeting, my first meeting in a home, all the way across the country from Phoenix. And I'm trying to get there. There's trucks in the ditches, and I'm driving through the snowstorm. I live in Arizona. I don't have clothes for this either. And I get to the home. It took me 2.5 hours to get to this person's home. It's a 20-minute drive from the airport, but it took me 2.5 hours because of the snow. Get to the home. The house is dark. I make my way to the door. There's snow drifts, and I'm banging on the door. There's nobody home. So they canceled the meeting. Now, this was before cell phones. It was before, I had to go to a pay phone so I found one of those pay phones that had like drifts up against it.
Right.
And the wind was blowing, and I'm trying to call, and their answering machine keeps coming on. And I ended up getting a Motel 6. I was planning on staying with them, but I ended up getting a Motel 6 and then flying home the next day. And that whole team, so my first team of 40 people in 12 years, my first team of 40 people completely quit. They all quit. And so, but then it was a turning point for me. I had to decide, am I going to do what I've always done and quit again? Am I going to do it a 12th time and have to start over and just get out of the business altogether? No. So I stayed in, and that's the company that I ended up making $8 million. But that was a defining moment. I stood on that doorstep, and I can remember standing on the doorstep with that biting cold wind that was blowing sideways, thinking to myself, am I going to quit again? Am I going to let this knock me out of the business again? Because everybody has stories like that. You have stories like that.
Yes.
Right.
But there was something else too. I read it.
Yeah.
It was another turning point for you. Was the
I've had a few.
25-cent book.
Yeah, that was a defining moment, but that was many years before I ever signed up my first distributor. That was actually 13, 14 years before I signed up my first distributor. I was in my 20s. I went to a garage sale in Park Forest, Illinois, south suburb of Chicago. And there was a book, and it was called The 10 Napkin Presentations by Don Failla. I'm sure you know who that is. Yeah.
Yes.
And I still have the book to this day. In fact, the pages are yellow. It's crazy. But I have the original book that I got.
I love that book.
25 cents. That was the first time I was ever exposed to residual income. It was the first time I actually heard about this thing where you could get paid over and over and over again for working one time. And that sounded really cool to me. But everybody I talked to about it back then thought it was that's not real. People don't really make residual income. But I read this book, and it was in a book, and I believed it. And so that started me on the journey. And so I started answering classified ads and joining different opportunities. When I say I was in 11 companies in 12 years, I wasn't in multiple companies at the same time, one at a time.
Right.
I joined it. I like one company I got involved in, it was called Nashika 3D Cameras. Do you remember that one?
No.
So I saved up enough money to buy a $295 camera that would take 3D pictures, three-dimensional pictures. You mail your film into Henderson, Nevada. They develop it. It takes 6 weeks to get it back, but they're these really cool 3D pictures. So I bought the $295 camera. I paid the $50, and I was ready to get trained. And so my sponsor, his name was Mike Maloney. I have no idea where he is, but this was in the 80s. So I drive my beat up old car to his home, And I go to the door and I knock on the door, and he looks like Mick Jagger. He comes to the door and he's completely naked, head to toe. Like, I mean, he's naked. He walks to the door and answers the door naked. And his wife's sitting on the couch naked. And I thought to myself, 3D camera business, not for me. And I quit. And do you know, to this day, I still have my 3D camera.
Wow. Okay. That's different. Okay.
What do you do with that? Like, Jeff, I mean, when my people come over to get trained, I'm wearing clothes. I don't know about you, but
well, you know, sometimes I'm out grilling on the deck here and in my underwear, you know. My wife did post it once, you know.
Right.
I wasn't happy about that.
No.
Now so you're not having any more bedwetting issues, are you?
Oh, we're gonna cover all topics, aren't we?
So you use that in your book to illustrate something.
I've never wet the bed, Jeff. No. There's a
But I
chapter
laughed.
in my book.
I was on the
There's
plane,
a chapter in Beach Money called Bedwetting and What It Means, and that's what Jeff's referring to.
That's right.
And yeah, so I guess I'll let you read. What? Chapter 11?
Chapter 11.
Yeah.
So
am I supposed to tell the story, or am I supposed to tell the story, or am I supposed to?
I thought it was so funny when I read that. I said, "Wow," you know, because I had not completed the chapter or the story, and I said, "Jordan's got bedwetting issues," and I keep on reading it. You know, it was so funny. But and then you finally found out there was a leak in your. You thought you really had some health problems, and then you found out.
I made a point. After 3 nights of this, I made an appointment with the doctor, and I was feeling pale. People were asking me if I was okay because I was pale and I was sweating. But there was a pinhole leak in my waterbed. At that point, I had a waterbed, and so I would strip the sheets, throw them in the laundry, clean it, and then sleep on the couch. And this happened 3 nights in a row. And then the third night, I'm laying there, and it hits me. There's a leak in my waterbed.
That is so. And so you were using that to illustrate a point, though.
Absolutely. It's like your mind can play tricks on you, you know. It's like we make things mean things, you know. And I talk a little bit about that, how, you know, we make up stories that affect the way what we do in life, and good stories, bad stories, you know. And I mean, heck, I was making doctor's appointments and people were telling me I looked sick because of a leak in my waterbed, you know. And so I look at when somebody says something to me, what am I making it mean? Like when somebody says they're not interested, that doesn't mean they're not interested. It means the timing may be off.
Right.
I just need to stay in touch with them and treat them well. And over time, I mean, heck, the majority of my distributors now are people that came in 1 to 5 years after I talked to them about the business.
Yes.
But if I treated them bad, or if I didn't stay in touch with them and continued to remain their friend, then they wouldn't be coming with me. They wouldn't be coming in with me.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I get calls and emails and text messages all the time from people that say, you know, I'm ready to go. And somebody I showed the business to 3 years ago. Right. You know?
Absolutely.
So I stay in touch with people, and I look for ways to, you know, serve them as best I can. You know, you do what you can, but you look for opportunities to connect people and you know, appreciate people and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I had one lady we worked together 20 years ago in another company. She was my best leader. I mean, she's out in the state of Maine, and it took me 20 years to get her back.
Isn't that crazy?
And see, I knew all the leaders under her. They're all good friends of mine. But when I moved into the company 20 years ago, when I moved into that company, I did not go after those leaders.
Right.
I didn't do that. So I waited for her. I said, okay, fine. 1 year, 5 years. Oh gosh, 10 years. Oh my God. You know, 15 years. And then finally, after 20 years, then the company is not treating them so good that they're in. And so it was just time to make. And she said, I would love to work with you again. I said, well, I've been waiting 20 years for you. And now she's smoking. I mean, just tearing it up.
I did a little video. I did a little video a few years ago. It was a thank you video, and it was a thank you to all the people that have quit my business. And the reason I was saying that is because all the people that join the business, that they present to 3 or 4 or 5 people, then they get discouraged and quit and leave. And then what happens is 2, 3, 4 years later, those people that they presented to come to me, and I end up sponsoring them because I'm still in the business. I mean, I've got 40, 50 people I've sponsored as a result of somebody that showed the business and then quit. And now they come to me because that person's gone. And there's a lesson in that, you know? I mean, Jeff, how about the ones that join your business that don't do anything for 2 years, and then all of a sudden they're ready to go and they go start building the business?
That's an interesting point. They finally germinate.
Yeah, that happens all the time. But it does not happen for the people. Neither of those circumstances happen for the people that quit when things get tough.
Yeah.
The real good stuff happens when you stick around. That's when the good stuff happens, you know? So I have a saying, don't quit on a bad day. Because everybody who quits on a bad day. So if you don't quit on a bad day and you stay in action, you got to stay in action. Don't let your discouragement keep you from continuing to work. Then good things are going to happen.
I love it. Don't quit on a bad day. Well, then you'd never quit, Jordan.
That's right.
So here's a question I have too, and it had to do with, I think in your book, chapter 6, under Numbers Don't Lie chapter, you made a good point here about people that you've observed that some people rely too much on the net, or we could say social media.
Well, Jeff, you know that my book was written, it was written 10 years ago. Right. And things were a little different back then because today we depend, like right now we're on.
We're on. Yeah, that's right.
You know. And I look at, you have to also be aware that sometimes your beliefs about the way things are done can limit you as well. And I even caught myself in that quagmire where, I'm old school like you, and we built the business 20 years ago, and it was different back then. The foundational principles, the basics are the same. So like, for example, it's all about relationship in every business, and that's never going to change. But there's technology today that makes it easier to connect with people. And I think we have to embrace that. I think that the people that spend a lot of time just liking stuff on Facebook, heart like, making little comments, you can lose 2 or 3 hours of your day doing that if you're not careful. Well, you really want to be cognizant of what is it that grows your business.
So what does your company pay on that? How much does your company pay on likes, shares, and comments?
Exactly. It's not a good return for your time, typically. So
that's a good point.
So I like help people to see, what is it that you need to be spending your time on to grow your business. It's always about. So I always ask the question, who's next? That's a powerful question. 2 words. If you ask this question every day, who's next? Who's next in your business already that you can go show the business for with them? Who's next as far as who you're going to meet next? Who's next as far as who you're going to set an appointment up next with? Who's next that you're going to show your business to? So you're always looking at who's next. And that's really what, if everybody in your group asks that question, who's next, you're going to have an explosion of growth.
So you're focusing on income producing activities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people lose it.
Can I share something else, Jeff, that
please.
I think might be helpful for people? So 2 things actually. So I was at a seminar years ago. I don't remember. It was probably before I had ever signed up my first distributor, but the guy on the stage said, and you've heard this before, that your television set is the reason why you're not making money. And so I went home and I unplugged my television set, and I didn't have and then I eventually put it in the closet, and then about a year later I gave it to Goodwill, and I didn't have a TV for 25 years. And because I didn't have a TV, I had all this free time on my hands because I was lying to myself that I was only watching 30 minutes a day, and I was actually watching 3 to 4 hours a day.
Wow.
In the morning and at night. So I had extra time, and I started reading more, and I started setting up more appointments and all those kinds of things. But here's the mess. That wasn't the point that I wanted to make.
Okay.
Many years later, I got a very large residual income, and I want a TV for watching movies. I got a condo in Vegas now, and I want a flat screen on the wall of my condo, right? So I go to the Best Buy, and I tell the guy, I don't want to spend a lot of money, $750. I don't need all the bells and whistles. I just want a basic flat screen TV that I could put my wall in the condo. This was in Las Vegas. And the guy goes like this. He goes, come here, I want to show you something. And I follow him. When people go like this, you follow them.
Yeah.
So I followed him through the store, and he took me into this little room that had these leather couches. And I sat down on the leather couch. He handed me these glasses, and I put on these glasses, and the flat screen's up on his flat screen's up there, and it's Shrek 3D, and I'm wearing these 3D glasses, and the donkey's like flying out of the screen. I've never seen anything like it. Better than the movie theaters.
Wow.
3D movie on this flat screen. And I said, how much? And he said $6,000. And this is after I told him I wanted to spend $750, and I ended up going, I'll take it. And so I bought this 3D TV. I put it on my wall in the condo, and I've watched 3 3D movies in the past, I don't know, 6 years. It probably cost me $2,000 a movie. But what's the point? The point is, he sold me that TV. He probably does that 20 times a week, and he sells 1 or 2 of those TVs a week. He went like this and said, come here, I want to show you something. And I thought to myself, that is the most powerful. This is how I share my business. I go, I want to show you something. Come here, I want to show you something. That's how I build my business. Now, it may not be come here, I want to show you something. It might be a text message where I go, Jeff, I want to get together with you, and I want to show you something. When can we grab coffee? But it's really that simple. People want to know what the script is. It's really that simple. The simpler you keep it, the more effective you're going to be, and the easier it is to duplicate through your team.
Excellent. Excellent. These are such basic, fundamental truths that people just really need to value. It's so overlooked, though.
Right.
So here, I was thinking about also about people that have jobs. You were talking about that in your book. People that feel like they really don't have enough disposable time because they work, right, to be able to achieve any great success in network marketing. But you talked about that in your book. You were very disciplined. You had goals even during your lunch breaks.
Yeah.
Can you really build during a lunch break?
I built my business on lunches, 3 days a week on lunches. It's really more about consistently doing something. It's not so much about how much time you spend. In fact, we don't get paid for what we do. In the job world, we get paid for what we do, where we trade time for money. But in our world, we get paid for what we start. So it's not about how much time you put in as much as it is that you do it consistently until you find people that want it as much or if not more than you do. So there was a little coffee place called Coffee Plantation on Mill Avenue, right downstairs from my office at the airline. And I would go down there 3 days a week, and I'd find somebody that I knew that would sit with me over lunch, and I couldn't afford to buy them lunch. So I would bring a bag lunch, and then I'd order a coffee, and I could buy them coffee. Yeah. And then if they wanted to buy their own lunch, or if they wanted to buy me my lunch, they could. But I would sit down, and back then we did it with the yellow pad. It was a little different. And I had a blue felt tip pen and a yellow pad, and I told them what we were doing, and most of them didn't want to do it. In fact, I do 12 presentations. For every 12 presentations, 11 of them would ultimately say no. But I signed up 1 out of 12, and I did that for 13 years. I ended up, like I said, I signed up about 1 a month for 13 years. So I'd give 12 presentations a month, sign up 1 person a month, and I did that for 13 years. And that resulted in an organization of 85,000 distributors and 250,000 customers, and that was where I made my first $8 million.
Wow.
So, but it was the consistency, and then also I would do here's what happened. I started doing the one-on-one presentations at Coffee Plantation, and then eventually 2-on-1s, and eventually we had small groups around tables there where there were like 3, 4, 5 people, because then they started bringing people, and it got too big for that venue because there were a lot of people in that coffee place. So I went down to this place called Monty's, which is now closed, but it was in the river bottom. It was an old steakhouse, and I got them to agree to a $10 lunch, a steak or fish lunch. And so we would all buy our lunch for $10, and then we would eat for 30 minutes, and then I'd do a 30-minute presentation, and then we'd race back to work. And I did that for about 2 years, and then we got too big. We had 30 or 40 people at lunch, and then we got too big for that, and then we went down the street to the spaghetti company, and started doing evening dinner meetings with spaghetti.
Yeah.
And that was $15. And we got to the point where we had 80 people going. This was over a period of like 5 years. We had
Right.
80 people. But at that point, from the 50 to 80 people, there were sparks flying off into other cities. So there was a guy in Tucson that came in from that group, and there was somebody that came in Colorado, and there was somebody that came in, different Florida, and those little teams started to ignite. And so then I started doing a little traveling and things like that and getting things going. Today we've got the technology to make it a lot easier. We don't have to spend as much money traveling and doing all that. You still can do that. It's good to do it, but
right.
you can do so much with Facebook Live and Zoom and all that today.
I love it. I love it. And I remember those
Me
days
too.
when we would have the leaders, we'd say, hey, let's go meet at this restaurant. We're going to do a presentation. So buy your prospects lunch or dinner.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. In your book, you talk about in that chapter a new perspective, and you talk about what we think about, we attract. How did that affect you?
Yeah, what you focus on is what you attract. So I'm up here. I'm in Jerome, Arizona right now. In fact, here, I'll show you real quick. I'm looking out over Sedona. See if we can see this. Can you see that?
Oh, yes, I can now. Beautiful.
Okay, so so in this home right here, a couple of years ago, there's a door right here that I just pointed the camera out. I had a hummingbird come in here. This story's in my new book. The hummingbird went right over to the big picture window, and I had to leave, and I was going to be gone for a few weeks. And this hummingbird's, buzzing against this window, and I was trying to catch the hummingbird, trying to like wave him out the door. I had the door open, but I couldn't get him to go to the door, and it was just like 8 feet. But I couldn't get him to focus on the door. He wanted to go out the window, and the window wouldn't let him go out. And so I went in the kitchen, and I got a pitcher, and I went over to the window, and I tried to catch him, and you can't catch a hummingbird.
Yes.
They're too fast.
They're fast.
So for over an hour and a half, I'm trying to, and the hummingbird's getting pissed off, and I'm getting pissed off, and I got to leave. I didn't want him to die, because he would die on the windowsill if I didn't get him out of the house. And I was really getting frustrated because I needed to get him. Well, eventually he got tired, and he sat up on the rim of the pitcher, and I walked him out, and he flew off. But I thought to myself, you talk about focus. One direction represents struggle and leads to death. The other direction is effortless, and it leads to freedom. If I could get him to focus towards the door instead of towards the window, he could effortlessly fly to freedom. Perfectly good hummingbird. I couldn't send this hummingbird to the best hummingbird coaches in the world and get him to fly any better than he was already flying. It's just that his focus was towards the window instead of towards the door.
Yeah.
So what we do, what you do, and what I do, Jeff, is we're trying to get people to focus towards the route that's going to allow them to have the greatest success. And so much of somebody's failure is what they're spending their time focusing on.
Right.
And it's like, I have a story in Beach Money, which I won't tell right now, but about the Jeep and the broken windshield in the Jeep.
I remember that story.
Yeah. But it's like what you focus on, that's what you get. If you focus on everything that's wrong, you're going to get everything that's wrong. If you focus on everything that's great, that's what you're going to get.
So then, that's right. And, and I went through that, because when I was totally broke, I sold a junk truck to get started. And I work all week prospecting. And on Sundays, I go down Dream Street where all the rich people live. And I walk around and look at their houses. And I think, yes, this is the way it's going to be. This is how my life's going to turn out. That house, yeah, I'm going to have one like that. And those manicured lawns and perennial gardens, rose gardens, yeah, and I'm going to have a gardener. That Mercedes BMW, yeah, I'm going to have that too. And I would rehearse that every Sunday, and in 18 months, I was moving into one of those houses.
Nice. What city was that in?
It was Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay. Beautiful.
I later, I lived later in South Carolina. I had a beautiful Greek Revival antebellum house there. Just stuff I did. But anyway, so here's the other thing too. Now I made a note on this, on the better than beach money. So like on chapter 8, a lot of people come in this business excited, and they have what I call approach avoidance. They're excited. They love the idea of it, being successful, owning your own life. But internally, you know, they really don't believe they can do it. They can't achieve their dreams. Now, you talked about that at one time, I think it was page 34, you said you felt that way, but what changed that?
Oh, I got to look and see what I wrote about. What, page 34, where I talk about things.
So I was taking notes on this stuff,
yeah.
man.
I remember now. Yeah.
I was taking notes on this stuff. So that was
yeah, you did your homework.
So here's the thing, because you say my life began to transform the day I realized the things didn't have to remain the way they had been in the past. I refused to accept the impossibility of my crazy dreams. So, and then here were some of your dreams, like becoming a best-selling author, earning $100,000 a month. You thought you'd never be able to, becoming a licensed helicopter pilot, a world traveler, future astronaut, you know, things like that.
Yeah. So, you know, I started really noticing that there are a lot of things that everybody thought were impossible that ultimately became true. Like, for example, you can buy a cup of coffee before Starbucks. You could buy a cup of coffee on any corner because there's a convenience store or a gas station. You buy it for 50 cents. And anybody who was told that someday you'd be paying $5 to $8 for a cup of coffee and you won't be buying it at the gas station anymore, nobody believed that was even possible. And so, but today, that's just the way most of the people buy their coffee. And then you go like, Jeff, you can remember, I remember this, when if you were in a group of people and somebody said, let's go get sushi, everybody would go, ew, you eat sushi? That's disgusting. That's gross. Why would you ever eat raw fish? And there'd be 1 out of 30 people that would love to go get sushi, but everybody else was like grossed out by it. I mean, I remember those days.
Yeah.
And today you say, let's go get sushi. And everybody's like, yeah, let's
you got to be cool, you know?
Yeah, right. But things change. And so I just decided, because I had a list of things that I wanted to achieve in my life that I wanted, but at that point I wanted it, but I didn't deserve it because I wasn't ready. I hadn't prepared to the level that I needed to prepare mentally. And so one of the things was choosing to believe in the things that you don't believe are really possible. And in the beginning, your dreams, you don't believe, like when I write down, a lot of times when I write down my dreams, I don't believe that they're possible when I write them down. But that doesn't keep me from writing them down. Like when I grew up in a neighborhood, in an environment where being in the presence of a helicopter, just flying in a helicopter one time was not a possibility in the place that I grew up. So the thought of actually being a helicopter pilot, I remember when I wrote it, really doubting whether it was even possible for me. And as I was going through the training, there were hundreds of times, because it was so challenging. It was the hardest thing I ever learned to do. There were hundreds of times where I doubted and questioned whether I was going to make it. But I'd also declared to thousands of people that I'm going to become a licensed helicopter pilot. I'd already declared it. And every single time I wanted to quit, it was really intense. Like there were even times where I'd make myself sick so I didn't have to go down to the school and take the next step because it was so challenging. But I kept getting in my car and going down there and kept getting back in the helicopter and just trusting the process and just going back, keep going back and trust the process, keep going back and trust the process. And then one day I find myself with a check ride with my instructor and the guy from the FAA doing the check ride, and I passed and they gave me my license, and I've been flying now for 3 years as a license. So one of my dreams was when my friends come to Vegas, let's go up in the helicopter and let's go have some fun and fly around Vegas. And that's what I do today. Every week I'm in the helicopter with someone new and we just fly around and have fun.
When I was in Vegas last, I did that. I went in a Maverick helicopter.
Maverick is great. Those are beautiful.
Gosh, it's like, I don't know, riding in a Cadillac. I mean, something you don't even feel it, and the music.
That's my dream helicopter. It's an EC-130, and they cost about $4 million. But that helicopter that's a badass helicopter.
And we landed in the Grand Canyon. It was so cool.
Yeah, fun.
Man, well, one day I'm going to have to ride with you and see what that's like.
Hey, Jeff, when you're in Vegas, we'll go up for sure. I'd love to take you up.
Oh man, I would love it. I would love it. It's just, that was my first experience really getting in a helicopter, was that Maverick.
Yeah. Nice.
And the storm.
Yeah,
and you know, there were clouds and lightning over to the far left in the distance. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful.
So here,
There, that was actually my first helicopter ride, was in a Maverick helicopter in Las Vegas. That was my very first ride. Now
really?
I haven't been. Now I'm certified to fly that helicopter. The helicopter that I fly is about 2,400 pounds with passengers. That helicopter is probably in the range of 4,000 pounds with helicopters, but the license I have will allow me to fly up to 12,000 pounds. So
wow.
I'd probably have to get a little bit of a orientation and all that, but I could fly that helicopter.
Well, if I keep eating send out card brownies, I might contribute to a lot of that weight. Hey, I got a question though. Now, I remember when I was with you over at the GoPro event, that it was a very interesting thing you did on stage. And I'd like you to comment on that, and then the analogy of what it means, the lessons to be learned, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that you proved on stage that a $100 bill can be really more than $100. Matter of fact, you proved on stage that a $100 bill was worth $3,200,000. Was that right? $3,200,000.
$3.2 million. Yeah.
How
now,
in the world is it?
Nobody, including me, Eric, and Marina, none of us believed that. We didn't even consider that it would go for 3.2 million. But I have an exercise.
Well, I didn't believe it either.
No,
I was watching the whole thing.
Yeah, so I have an exercise that I do where I pull a $100 bill out of my wallet, and if I have a group of a few hundred or even 1,000 people, I know that I can auction that $100 bill off for thousands of dollars. I've done it a number of times, and I don't. It's all I do. I don't tell them what the money's going to be used for or anything like that. I just there's people have a desire to win. There's value that comes in the description that you give to things. And so, for example, if I said to this crowd, there's, I don't know, say 60 people listening right now. If I said to this crowd right now, I have a $100 bill in my wallet, who wants it for $50? Well, what's going to happen is some of you are going to want that $100 bill for $50, because it's like, why would they not want it? But you know what? Out of this group, there's half the people that won't want the $100 bill for $50. Why? Because they either think there's a catch, or they think it's a scam, or they don't have $50, or they're too lazy to bid. So it's the same reasons why people don't get involved in your business. But then if I say, what if I'm going to sell you the $100 bill for $100? Some of you will want the $100 bill for $100 because it's my $100 bill. Some of you, right? So, but there's some of you that say, why would I ever give you $100 for a $100 bill? And no one would ever give $125 for a $100 bill. But you know, there are people that will. If I said, Jeff's got a $100 bill, some of you would pay $150 for that $100 bill because it's Jeff's $100 bill. If I said that Jeff's going to sign it, or I'm going to sign it, or the owner of your company is going to sign it, or Michael Jordan's going to sign it, you're going to pay more than $100 for it. And that's just a signature. So now all of a sudden the value goes up. So I have a training that I do that what your business costs is not what it's worth. So if your business, let's say it costs somebody $100 to get involved in your business, that's what it costs, but that's not what it's worth. It could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions. But a lot of it's going to be dependent on how you explain it, how you describe it, and so people can see what they didn't see before. Make sense?
That makes total sense. And I was so amazed, but to be at that event and see, what was his name? The gentleman that came up and.
David Martin.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, you're frozen up on my screen. Am I still moving? Did I freeze
on your screen? No, you didn't freeze, man.
Am I moving? I'm still moving.
So the money went to what? What was the whole purpose of the money? You might explain that.
Yeah, so when it was over with, David didn't know where the money was going. Nobody knew, because I didn't talk about that at all. But at the end, I brought David up on the stage, and then I said the money will be donated to the Starkey Hearing Foundation, which is the largest hearing company. It's a nonprofit that actually provides kids with hearing aids all over the world that can't hear. And so they have a charity, and it became the largest. It was the largest donation in their history. So that's what we did. We announced that from the stage.
Wow.
Well, I would love to do this all day, man. Now you're coming
That's
out
fun.
to the ANMP, right, this month?
Yeah. Will you be there, Jeff?
Yeah, yeah,
That's next week. That's a week from this weekend.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening, I recommend, highly recommend, like there's these generic network marketing events, and because of these type of events, I'm here today. If I had not gone to the mastermind sessions in the early 90s, I would not be in network marketing today. This is the best value for the money because it's a nonprofit. There's 50 of the top money earners in network marketing worldwide that will be speaking at this event, 50 over a period of a few days. And man, if you can make it to Dallas, it's anmp2018.com.
Right.
Check it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be an awesome event. I've been promoting it. I mean, Jordan's going to be there speaking. I'm going to be speaking.
Nice.
Brian Carruthers is going to be there speaking. So many. And
Yep.
just imagine, you know, because like in my company, there's a lot of my leaders, they're very resistant to these kind of events because they're always afraid that their leaders will be recruited by somebody, you know?
Yeah.
And my answer to that, and I told them, I said, look, if they're not making money, you're not going to keep them anyway.
All
So
right.
you better send them to an event like that so they can get inspired, they can learn from people who are doing it. And I totally agree with you on that. So I know you got some calls to go on. And everyone, if you have not read Beach Money, start there. When you
Thanks,
finish doing
Jeff.
that, get better than Beach Money.
Hey man, I'm so grateful to you for pulling this together for us and for helping me to promote the book and just being able to spend some time with you like this with everybody. It's great.
It's an honor. It's really an honor, Jordan. I mean, there's, you know, I know a lot of top earners in different companies, and, you know, I respect what they did, but there's only a few that I deeply respect what they did or what they do. And you are one of them.
Thank you.
I really do.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
getting
that.
on this call. Everyone, thanks for getting on this. I learned things too. I'm going to go back over this and take some notes. There were nuggets, there were comments that Jordan said that was, to me, it was very inspiring. And I just had some aha. And then, you know, so I'm going to go back over this and take notes.
Nice.
Thanks
Well,
again.
Hey, I'll see you in a week.
In a
little over
week.
All right.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for getting on.
Take care,
Everyone,
Jeff.
have a great day. And thanks again, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.